around 160 miles an hour. Incredibly, no one is seriously hurt.
We have the latest live on what happened and the continuing chaos at the world's busiest international airport.
Good evening. They are remarkable pictures, and it was an incredible escape. We have the full story on today's events at Heathrow.
We'll have the rest of the day's news too. Here's what else is ahead.
Near miss at Heathrow as a British Airways jetliner crash lands short of the runway.
And we will, of course, be asking how bad the disruption is for thousands of passengers.
The Boeing 777 inbound from Beijing was on its final approach at Heathrow. Eyewitnesses described it coming in very low and banking sharply before hitting the grass well short of the concrete runway. Wheels flew off as it skidded to a halt. The passengers were evacuated down the emergency chutes.
Now, it's still unclear exactly why it happened, but what is clear tonight is that passengers on the BA plane from Beijing had an incredible escape. Parts of the landing gear are still strewn across the airfield, and one of the wings has clearly been ripped from the aircraft's body.
It happened shortly before 1 p.m, but tonight the plane is still sitting where it ground to a halt, blocking landings at one of the two runways at the airport.
So, we've the latest from Heathrow tonight on what we know about what happened, how it could have happened, and of course what it means for flights in and out of the world's busiest international airport. Our coverage starts with Simon Harris, who's at the scene for us. Simon.
Katie, tonight the big Boeing has been floodlit, so crash investigators can continue their work, so the passengers' remaining luggage can be unloaded, and so engineers can presumably work out how to move the wreck. It won't be easy. As you said, the undercarriage has sheared off. As the plane came into land, on board were 136 passengers and 16 crew. By all accounts, there was no warning of what was about to happen. If the pilots knew they were in trouble, they didn't tell the passengers. Indeed, some passengers said the first they knew that something was wrong was after the landing, and the crew told them to slide down the chutes. It was a near disaster, an amazing escape. The broken Boeing lies surrounded by crash trucks, firefighters and a blanket of foam. This is where flight BA038 from Beijing ended up, just short of Heathrow's southern runway. Muddy gouges in the grass behind it and a trail of debris show the plane's final slide after a 160-mile-an-hour crash landing. Incredibly, there was no fire and just 6 minor injuries on board. The pilot, apparently struggling to maintain height and flying speed, just managed to clear the busy A30 dual carriageway, as well as this road and the perimeter fence, before the plane came down on the grass a couple of hundred yards short of the main runway. The impact tore off the main undercarriage, and the plane, now travelling on its belly and on its 2 engines, skidded along the grass, slewed to the right and came to a halt. The crash was seen by plane spotter David Spalton. He was here by chance, waiting while his girlfriend had a job interview with BA.
Basically, I was just at Marshall Avenue taking pictures of the aircraft as they're coming in on approach. And there's the aircraft in question over here. He came in quite low. I don't know whether he caught a gust of wind or anything, but certainly looking at it, he was in trouble by the time he crossed the main road. And then, obviously, he crash landed and hit the runway, which isn't the best thing to do. But
what did you see?
Quite a lot of sparks, dirt flying around. Within minutes, if not that, probably seconds, when the aircraft has stopped, the emergency slides are out. Within a minute or two, the emergency services were there, and everyone, as far as I know, is hopefully okay.
Air crash investigators have now taken charge of the wreck. They'll inspect the engines. Were they faulty? And the fuel tanks. Did the plane have enough? But most importantly, they'll get the pilot's story. BA refuses to speculate on the cause of the crash. Instead, the airline boss praised the crew.
The crew are very experienced and are trained to deal with circumstances like this. There is a formal investigation being conducted by the Air Accident Investigation Branch of the Department for Transport, and British Airways is cooperating fully with that investigation. It would be inappropriate for me to speculate as to the likely cause of this incident today.
He came in normally, standard angle, but his nose was quite high up, and obviously his tail would be further down. And he did try and correct it, but by the time he corrected it to standard landing, I don't believe he had enough time before the runway, and as a result I think he hit the grass. As I say, I've not seen up there since it happened, since I got the pictures and obviously that, but I think he hit the grass, and as a result his landing gear came off, and he just sort of skidded straight in and off the runway.
For a while today, Heathrow was closed as the airport's emergency crews dealt with the accident. One runway is now open, but this day of drama has also been a day of utter chaos. Simon Harris, London Tonight, Heathrow Airport.